What happens when a seasoned defense attorney, known for his tenacity and sharp wit, takes on a controversial case that threatens to unravel his own life? Brace yourself for a riveting experience as we dive into The Attorney, a Hong Kong film that intertwines gripping legal battles with deep personal stakes, all inspired by real events. The film opens in a dim, decrepit industrial building. The camera pans to a man, Dickie Lee Yat Fung, trembling in fear, his face ashen, staring at a woman's lifeless body on the cold floor. Dust and old machinery fill the room. Dick's terrified voice breaks through the silence. "I didn't do it. I swear. I was just here." The sudden arrival of police disrupts his plea. Officers quickly secure the scene. One officer approaches Dickie and states, "Step away from the body. You're under arrest." Dickie, panicking, responds, "Please, I didn't kill her. I just found her like this. I'm telling the truth." Another officer begins interrogating him as he sits handcuffed on a crate. "Where were you before this? Why were you in this building?" "I was asleep in the office," Dickie explains. "I heard noises, woke up, and found her. I didn't see who did it, I swear." The officer, unconvinced, says, "We have evidence that links you to this crime. You'll need to prove your innocence." The scene transitions to a busy courtroom. The tension is palpable. The defense attorney questions a journalist about an article she wrote on March 29 about young schools' admissions process. The journalist, Miss Lowe, explains complaints from parents about unfair admissions practices due to connections with the principal. The opposing attorney objects, stating, "Objection, Your Honor. This information isn't relevant to the current case." The defense attorney counters, "Your Honor, this information is important. It shows a pattern of unfairness that could be relevant to understanding the bigger picture of this case." The judge sustains the objection and instructs the defense attorney to stick to the case-related questions. Frustrated, the defense attorney adjusts his approach but continues to build his argument. Outside the courtroom, reporters swarm around the defense attorney, Kelvin Ho, and his client. One reporter asks if an appeal might be necessary. Kelvin responds, "We're exploring all options. Right now, our focus is on presenting the best defense." Another reporter mentions Frankie Liu's recent losing streak, to which Kelvin replies, "I'll let Mr. Louis handle that. Our focus is on our case." Inside the courtroom, Frankie Louis, the opposing attorney, is seen muttering about his losing streak. 12 cases lost in a row. I must be a genius at failing." The scene cuts to a news report about the murder of Angie Kwok, a billionaire's daughter. The report states that Dickie Lee was arrested at the crime scene and denies killing Angie. The camera shows Dickie Lee in an interrogation room, desperately repeating his innocence. The scene then shifts to Dickie Lee's grandmother at the police station, distressed and seeking help to bail out her grandson. The officer informs her that bail is not possible at this time and advises hiring a competent lawyer. The camera captures Grandma Lee's anguish as she sits in a corner, crying. Another attorney arrives and advises her to hire Kelvin Ho for the case. The next day, Kelvin Ho, a respected criminal defense lawyer, meets with Dickie Lee's grandmother in his modest office filled with legal books. Grandma Lee, visibly distressed, pleads for Kelvin's help. "Please, Mr. Ho, you have to help my grandson. He's innocent, and I don't know where else to turn." Kelvin, showing empathy, says, "I understand how difficult this must be. I'll review the case details carefully to determine the best course of action." Kelvin examines the case files, finding scant evidence in Dickie Lee's favor. He reviews police reports and witness statements, trying to piece together the truth. Later, Kelvin meets with his colleague, Frankie Louis, to discuss the case. Frankie's office is cluttered, reflecting his recent struggles. Kelvin expresses concern. "We need to come up with a strategy for Dickie Lee's defense. There's a lot at stake here." Frankie, frustrated but determined, replies, "I know. I've been through a rough patch, but I'm still committed. We need to find something that can help us." Kelvin agrees, "Let's dig deeper. There has to be something we can use." The two attorneys visit the crime scene, which is still under examination. They discover a crucial piece of overlooked evidence, a security camera. The footage shows someone leaving the building at the time of the murder, who doesn't match Dickie Lee's description. Frankie, excited, says, "This could be what we need. Let's get this footage analyzed." They visit the Kwok family mansion to speak with Angie's father, who is holding a memorial. The mansion is grand and filled with photographs and flowers. Kelvin inquires about Angie's life and any potential threats she might have received. Angie's father reveals, "She received threats from someone with a grudge against our family. I'm not sure who, but it was serious." This new lead provides Kelvin and Frankie with a potential suspect to investigate. They leave the mansion with renewed hope. In the courtroom, the defense team prepares to present their new evidence. The atmosphere is tense as spectators and legal professionals wait for the next development. Kelvin presents the security footage showing an unknown person leaving the crime scene, not matching Dickie Lee's description. Forensic experts testify that Dickie Lee was not present at the time of the murder. The prosecutor is taken aback, saying, "This new evidence complicates the case. We need to review it carefully." The judge agrees, "We'll take a recess to examine this new information." Outside the courtroom, Grandma Lee clutches her rosary and prays quietly, her face a mix of hope and anxiety. Kelvin and Frankie discuss their strategy. Kelvin says, "This evidence could make a huge difference. We need to ensure it's presented clearly." Frankie replies, "We'll do our best. Let's make sure we cover every angle." The scene shifts to the police station, where further investigation into the threats Angie received reveals a suspect with a known grudge against the Kwok family. Kelvin and Frankie decide to interview this new suspect, hoping to uncover more about their potential involvement. At the suspect's residence, they are met with hostility. The suspect, defensive, says, "I haven't done anything. I've had problems with the Kwok family, but I didn't kill her." Frankie, observing closely, asks, "Are you sure there's nothing you're not telling us?" The suspect insists, "I don't know who did it. It wasn't me." Frustrated but determined, Kelvin and Frankie leave, deciding to focus on the new lead about Angie's threats and investigate further. Back in the courtroom, the defense team prepares for the next session. The atmosphere is charged as the new evidence is about to be presented. During the session, Frankie presents the witness's testimony, describing seeing a man with a scar leaving the crime scene, clearly distinguishing him from Dickie Lee. The prosecutor questions the accuracy of the testimony. "How can we be sure this is accurate?" The witness responds confidently, "I saw them clearly. I'm sure of what I saw." The judge acknowledges the significance of the new use testimony and says, "We'll take this new evidence into consideration." As the court adjourns, Kelvin and Frankie meet with Grandma Lee, who is relieved yet anxious. Frankie reassures her, "We've made significant progress. We'll continue to fight for justice." The scene transitions to the Kwok family mansion, where Angie's father and his legal team discuss the new developments. Angie's father says, "We need to find out who this new suspect is. It's crucial for justice." The legal team agrees to follow up on the lead. Kelvin and Frankie prepare for the next court session, confident but aware of remaining challenges. In their office, they review the latest updates. Kelvin says, "The suspect's background and connection to Angie's threats could be crucial. We need to present this information clearly." Frankie agrees, "Let's be thorough and persuasive. This could be the turning point." In the courtroom, the defense team presents new evidence linking the suspect with the scar to Angie's threats and other criminal activities. The prosecutor questions this new evidence. Is there concrete proof linking this suspect to the crime scene beyond the witness testimony? Kelvin responds, "Yes. We have forensic evidence and a clear motive. The evidence strongly suggests this suspect's involvement." The judge listens carefully and says, "We will consider this evidence as part of the case review." As the session ends, Kelvin and Frankie review their progress, feeling relieved but determined. Kelvin reflects, "We've made significant strides. We need to stay focused." Frankie nods, "We're closer to the truth. We'll keep pushing forward." The following day, the courtroom is packed as the trial resumes. Kelvin makes the closing argument, summarizing the evidence that exonerates Dickie Lee and points to another individual with motive and opportunity. He states, "The evidence proves Dickie Lee's innocence. The true perpetrator is someone else, as identified by our witness and supported by forensic evidence." The prosecutor counters, "While there is new evidence, we must consider all possibilities and links to the crime." The judge instructs the jury to consider all evidence presented and reach a verdict. The courtroom waits in tense anticipation as the jury deliberates. Outside, Grandma Lee, hopeful but nervous, speaks with Kelvin and Frankie. Grandma Lee says, "Thank you for everything. I'm anxious but hopeful." Frankie reassures her, "We've presented a strong case. Now, we just need to wait." The scene shifts to the Kwok family mansion, where Angie's father and his legal team are anxiously waiting for the verdict. The mansion is quiet, the weight of the case evident in the somber atmosphere. Angie's father says, "I just want this to be over. We need to find out who is truly responsible for my daughter's death." The legal team responds, "We're doing everything we can. We'll make sure that justice is served." Back in the courtroom, the jury finally returns with their verdict. The judge calls everyone to order and announces, "The jury has reached a verdict. Dickie Lee Yat Fung, please stand." Kelvin and Frankie watch intently as the judge reads the verdict. "We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty of all charges." A wave of relief washes over Grandma Lee, who breaks down in tears of joy. Kelvin and Frankie exchange a look of satisfaction, knowing their hard work has paid off. Kelvin says to Frankie, "We did it. Justice has been served." Frankie nods, "It was a tough case, but we made a difference." The scene then shifts to the police station, where the suspect with the scar is being interrogated. The police have new evidence linking him to the crime. They inform him that he will be charged with Angie Kwok's murder. An officer says, "We have sufficient evidence to charge you with the crime. You'll be held accountable for what you've done." The suspect, realizing the gravity of the situation, reacts with fear and anger. The scene transitions to Dickie Lee's release from custody. He is met by Grandma Lee, who embraces him with tears of relief and joy. Grandma Lee says, "You're free now. Thank you for believing in us." Dickie Lee, overwhelmed with emotion, replies, "Thank you for fighting for me. I don't know how to repay you." Kelvin and Frankie, witnessing the emotional reunion, reflect on their success. Frankie says, "This case was challenging, but seeing Dickie Lee's freedom is worth all the effort." Kelvin agrees, "It's moments like these that make our work meaningful." The final scene shows Kelvin and Frankie leaving the courthouse together, their faces reflecting a mix of exhaustion and satisfaction. They walk away, ready to face the next challenge, knowing they've made a significant difference in the pursuit of justice. In the days following the trial, the media coverage of the case continues to make headlines. News reports highlight the dramatic twists and turns of the trial and the eventual acquittal of Dickie Lee Yat-fung. At a press conference, Kelvin and Frankie address the media. Reporters bombard them with questions about their victory and the future of the case. A reporter asks, "How do you feel about winning such a high-profile case after your recent losing streak?" Frankie, looking relieved, replies, "It's been a tough road, but we're grateful for the opportunity to fight for the truth. This case was important for justice." Kelvin adds, "Our focus was always on ensuring that the right person was held accountable. We're glad the evidence led to the right outcome." As the press conference ends, the scene shifts to the Kwok family mansion, where Angie's father is reflecting on the aftermath of the trial. The mansion is still filled with photographs and mementos of Angie, and the atmosphere is somber yet hopeful. Angie's father, speaking to a close associate, says, "We've finally seen some justice, but the pain of losing Angie will never fully go away. We need to ensure that her memory is honored." The associate responds, "The legal system has done its part. Now, it's time to focus on healing and remembering Angie." Back at Kelvin and Frankie's office, the two lawyers are wrapping up their work on the case. They review their notes and files, preparing to close the case officially. Kelvin says, "It feels good to finally put this case behind us. We've done what we set out to do." Frankie, reflecting on the experience, replies, "It's been a long journey. I'm proud of the work we did, and it reminds me why we fight for justice." As they prepare to leave the office, they receive a call from Grandma Lee, who wants to thank them once more. She invites them to a small gathering in her home to celebrate Dickie Lee's release and express her gratitude. At the gathering, Grandma Lee, surrounded by family and friends, warmly thanks Kelvin and Frankie for their dedication. Grandma Lee says, "I can never fully express how grateful I am for everything you've done. You fought tirelessly for my grandson." Kelvin, touched by her words, responds, "It was an honor to help. We're glad that justice was served." Frankie adds, "We're happy to see Dickie Lee free. Your support and faithfulness were vital." As the evening progresses, the atmosphere is one of celebration and relief. Dickie Lee, now a free man, shares his gratitude with those who supported him throughout the ordeal. Dickie Lee says, "I'm forever thankful to all of you. I'll never forget what you've done for me." The scene concludes with Kelvin and Frankie leaving the gathering, walking together in the quiet of the night. They reflect on their journey, the challenges they faced, and the ultimate success they achieved. Kelvin says, "It's cases like these that remind us of the importance of our work." Frankie nods in agreement, "Absolutely. On to the next challenge, then." The final shot shows them walking away from the gathering.